Hi, I'm Heidi, filing 4 of 5. We're working in reverse chronological order. I've been writing this out again and again, and I still don't know how to end this, so I'm hoping I'll wrap it up quickly. My dad believed in brevity. But my favorite memory, my mom said we should share memories that we have of Dad. And my favorite memory is when I must have been 4 or 5. We were going out for lunch at Friendly's, which I should have been really excited about because I loved going out for lunch. It was a rare treat. And, but I was sulky and whiny and difficult that day, which was not unusual. And so when the food arrived, my dad opened up my burger and drew a little sad face on it. Little frown and I think some tears with the ketchup. And I thought that was awful, and I just started wailing and bawling. Did not appreciate his humor. And he did not appreciate crying children in restaurants, and so he sent me out to the car, which was also very common. And so I went out to the car and calmed down. When I came back in, my hamburger was still there, cold, with a smiley face on it. And I looked at it, he's a smart kid, and I looked at it, I couldn't find any ketchup smeared on it, and I couldn't figure out how he'd done this. And I thought, he must be magical. And then Joelle told me a couple years later that he just flipped the burger. I was a smart kid, but I wasn't a bright kid. But I still thought he was magical. He could stir that glass of milk that I got, and it would turn chocolate. Just like that. And he could fix anything. And he always knew when I was lying. Again, not a difficult job. If I was talking, I was lying. But as I got older and a teenager, I realized he wasn't magical. He was foolish. This man would go to church every Sunday, and he didn't have to. But he went. And I thought, that's ridiculous. You're a grown-up. Nobody's making you. And he said, I like to hear what they have to say. I said, are you going to change your mind? He said, I just like to hear what they have to say. And I realized, he really did. He liked to hear what everybody had to say. And he would actually listen to you and take it in and change his mind. He changed his mind about me. And I think that was what that was probably the most important lesson I got from him. To listen and change my mind and maybe laugh at myself sometimes when I'm being whiny. I still think he's magical because, well, he was.
This is actually the first time that I've cried since he died. Hearing these stories is fantastic. And actually my story ties in tightly to both what Steph was saying and what Heidi was saying. That my father really avoided talking about himself. He really liked to know what everyone else was doing. But because of this, it was hard to feel like you really knew him personally. But it was also really easy to like him. It's easy to like somebody who wants you to talk about yourself. During college, as I came back each weekend, our relationship changed from being father and son to being more like brothers. I showed him a lot of movies, talked about my classes and politics, and during this time he finally told me a story about himself. I knew that both of his parents had died when he was fairly young. Turns out that his mother died when he was about 18, and his father died about a year after when he was 19. He never talked much about them. I knew that the mother died from cancer. But he said that after his mother died, his father had given up, that he had taken the death hard and turned towards drinking heavily. Eventually, his father wound up in the hospital because he would mix his drinking with aspirin. My father went to visit him, and his father was annoyed to see him and made it clear that he didn't want to see him. He wanted to see his drinking buddies from the bar. Sometime after being released, his father died. He had continued to mix his drinking with aspirin. I can't speak with any certainty about how my father handled his father's death, but I do know that he pulled through it well. He helped organize his brothers into a functioning household. He worked his way through college, he got married and built his own family, and never treated us the way his father treated him. My father came from a fairly tragic background and came out well ahead of where he had been. I think this is part of what he wanted from all of us, is to overcome our adversity and not allow ourselves to be consumed by our tragedies.
Me again. Actually, I'm speaking on behalf of my Uncle John. And in order for this letter, he has sent a letter. He could not be here today. In order for this to make sense, know you that Uncle John is 17 years younger than Mom. So if you are like my dad and do the math, makes him about 20 years younger than Dad. So that way everything in this letter is going to make sense. Uncle John says, Frank has been around for as long as I can remember. When I was little, he and Diane lived in Milwaukee. My first impression of Frank was that he knew how everything worked. He was always able to put things together or fix what was broken. I recall riding out to West Allis with him once in an old, rounded, somewhat worn and rusted car. I thought that was pretty cool. He seemed like a big, strong guy to me. I remember that he would hold his arms straight out from his side and let me try to do chin-ups on it. After Frank and Diane moved to New Jersey, we didn't see so much of each other, but kept in touch. Sometimes directly, sometimes through phone calls, letters, or word of mouth. I have no idea what day-to-day life was like for the Daleks, but with a house full of kids, I imagine there weren't many dull moments. One story that sticks in my mind, and I hope I have the facts reasonably straight, and I've read this already, he does, is when Frank put a padlock on Stefan's bicycle as a penalty for some misbehavior. Shortly after, Frank was going to ride somewhere on his own bicycle, but couldn't leave because Stefan had locked it up. With the bicycle lock, only he knew the combination to it. I'm not sure how the story ended, but I picture Frank maybe being mad, but at the same time, seeing some humor in the situation. Frank was the only one in the family who could really relate to the frustrations of government bureaucracy. When we talked, he often brought up events from his career at Fort Monmouth that sounded just like things at my job. Uncle John worked for Boeing, specifically on the space shuttle, I believe. It was always good talking with Frank. He seemed genuinely interested in the conversation, and to me, had a very pragmatic approach to life in general. For example, he expressed atheism, but was willing to get involved with operations at the church where Diane played. The world needs more of that. Maybe that can be a part of Frank's legacy. Thank you, Uncle John.